The drama is a refreshing movie about a bunch of awful, judgmental, garbage hypocrites who will make your blood boil. It is about the idea of can people change and the thin line between doing something terrible and almost doing something terrible. I absolutely loved this movie. It was funny, thought provoking, and it also features some of the best editing I have seen in a while. Basically, Pattinson and Zendaya, they're about to get married, and for that marriage, they're doing all sorts of preparation, talking to photographer, DJ, wedding planner, and all that jazz. Now, during all of this, they end up finding their wedding DJ doing drugs on the side of the street, which leads to a discussion between them and their friends, and this is the situation where basically shit hits the fan. See, there's this character which I really, really hate. Like, I hate this character more than I hate that adaptation of Wuthering Heights. God. It's just a movie character. It's fiction. Basically, during the discussion, this horrible character gets an idea. She suggests everyone that, hey, how about we tell each other the worst thing we have ever done? Generally a horrible idea, but makes for a good movie. So because of that idea, one by one, they all start sharing their worst kept secrets. And here, Zendaya ends up saying something very problematic, and that ends up creating problem between Pattinson and Zendaya, because as I said, they are about to get married. But now with this newfound information, Pattinson is conflicted, because hey, the girl, my fiance, someone I am about to get married, just said something so messed up. So should I just accept it or should I let it go? And rest of the movie is both of them basically navigating this problem. From now on, it is impossible for me to talk about this movie without going in all the details, so you are being warned. First of all, we have this first movie character. Even before they start confessing all of their secrets, right? This character does something really problematic that when I was watching the movie, I was like, wow, that's a shitty thing to do. She's the one who comes up with the idea, like, hey guys, let's talk about our messed up secrets. And her husband has a problem with it. Both of them shared their secrets in private as a couple under the condition that, hey, we will never talk to anybody else. But here she is forcing her husband that, hey, talk about your secrets in front of Zendaya and Pattinson, okay? You have to. Basically, she peer pressures him, and the way his character is written, he's kind of a doormat, or a horrible person, but also a doormat, right? So he gives in and he shares his secret. In a weird way, the bullying in the scene has already begun. So this guy basically admits that, once upon a time he was on a date, and after the date he was going through a dark alley at night with the girl that he was on the date with, right? And suddenly a scary dog shows up, like a street dog. And to protect himself, he literally uses his girlfriend as human shield. Like he literally just puts her in the front and lets the dog bite her. Pretty messed up thing to do, right? Even though it is very awful thing, they give him benefit of the doubt, or how it was in the past, whatever, let it go, then we come to this horrible person, and she does again another toxic thing that kind of really angers me. After her husband has already confessed the secret, now she is backing out. She's like, you know what guys, we don't have to talk about it or anything, but of course they pressure her as well, and then she shares her secret, which is even more messed up. So basically, she was supposed to take care of some mentally disabled kid, and she was annoyed by it, so she locked up that kid in the cupboard somewhere and just left. Not just that, but eventually, the search parties begin, hey, where's the kid? We have to find him. And even during that time, this girl never told anybody that where the kid is. Thankfully, they do find the kid, and the kid is safe afterwards. However, one of the key part here that we have to make a note is that she downplays the kid being disabled part. She really just brushes it off. Then we get to Pattinson, and the thing about Pattinson in this movie that he really cares about other people's opinion, right? So initially, just like this bitch, he tries to downplay, hi guys, we don't have to share, whatever, I haven't done anything crazy, and then suddenly he drops it, yeah, basically I cyberbullied someone so hard that they had to change schools, and then also they had to move cities. Okay. So there was also really messed up thing to do, which he played it off as very lightly. But between all of this doormat also says that, hey Pattinson, it's okay. You were just 14, you were just a kid and it doesn't matter that much. Which is very important detail. We will make the note here as well. And then we finally come to Zendaya. And of course, she's also hesitant to talk. But eventually, she says that she almost did something but didn't do it. Basically, what she says is that when she was 14, she almost committed a school pow pow pow. Yeah. So she was in a very dark and problematic time in her life. But thankfully, she doesn't actually go through with it. Like, she realizes that, she doesn't want to do it, and then she does not. But this three, like this hypocrite bastards, they absolutely lose it. Like, they flip the out. Like, so far, everyone was getting benefit of the doubt. She does not. Now, remember these 2 points that I separated? First of all, disability. So this character, like, she downplays the disabled kid part, like, the kid was disabled and whatnot. She does complete 180 and tells Zendaya that, hey, how dare you have a thought like that? One of my cousin is handicapped because of the incident, right? So how can you even have an idea of something like that? You suck, you horrible, you just most mean awful things, right? And this doormat, by the way, who gave Pattinson the doubt, like, oh, it's okay, you were just 14, cyberbullying is bad, but you were a child, it's okay. Even he doesn't cut her slack. Like, Zendaya herself tries to make the argument, like, guys, I was just 14 and I didn't do it. I just had a dark thought about it. But they ignore it. Like, they do not give her a single benefit of the doubt. Now, between all of this, the most disgusting reaction is actually by Pattinson. So, as I said, he really cares what other people think. So, when he reads the room that these two people are really upset with Zendaya, he also throws her under the bus. Like, dude, that's your fiance. I'm not saying that you have to agree with everything she said, but come on, It's pathetic. It's really pathetic. And this is also the reason why I think that this movie is truly about. For the judgment, I have two categories. Basically, how Pattinson judges Zendaya and also how Zendaya judges herself. Let's focus on Pattinson first. Like, I think he's one of the most complex and the most interesting character in the movie. More importantly, the moment Zendaya confessed her secret, like, hey, I almost committed a school, the power dynamic between those two completely shifts in a sense that Pattinson becomes a lot more powerful in the situation. Now he has to decide, like, do I want to continue with the marriage? Zendaya, on the other hand, is now trying to play defense. Like, she's basically convincing him that, hey, it was in the past, I have moved on, I'm a different person now, and I didn't even actually do it. It was just like a part of my life that I moved on from. Now here's the funny part. Eventually, he does figure out for himself. Like, you can see he actually does like her still. He still wants to marry her, but he doesn't act on it, right? Because, as I said, he really cares about other people's opinion. So what happens is that he keeps going to other people and tell them that, hey, should I do it? Should I not do it? Is it okay or not? He does it like in an indirect sense, but basically he keeps looking validation from other people. He just wants somebody to tell him that, hey, Pattinson, it's okay. Go marry Zendaya. It's fine, right? Because he doesn't have balls himself to do so. And this is why I absolutely love that he ends up cheating on her. And this completely changes the power dynamic, right? And that is why he suddenly starts becoming nice to Zendaya, at the end when the wedding happens. If you remember, like, he's chill. He's like, you know what, let's not even fire the DJ, even though that was my idea. He's like, total coward. His niceness is fake. Like, he's being kind to Zendaya now and he's letting go of everything because he has a guilt of cheating. And it is after he gets beaten up, right? Like that girl he cheated on with, like his boyfriend comes up and beats up Pattinson brutally. Amazing jump cut, by the way. He finally realizes, like who he is. And he is ready, in honest sense, to be with Zendaya. But it's too late by then. Now let's look at Zendaya here. See, when Zendaya initially tells everyone, that, hey, I almost did a school and I was very serious about it and whatnot, we buy it, right? And we also genuinely think that, oh, maybe she almost had it, at somebody's temple and then she just took it back. But the flashback of the movie, where she's going through that phase, tells a kind of different story. The flashback has a comedic tone, and I think that is very important. Meaning, as a viewer, I never thought that Zendaya was like dead serious about it. I think, as she said, like she was just caught up in the aesthetic of it. She ended up romanticizing this idea of revenge. The way she handles the weapon, and also that absolutely hilarious scene where, where she is recording the confession and suddenly the computer update pops up And then she tries again, and then something other interruption pops up. She was never that serious. She clearly had an idea, and I actually agree. It is a very dark and problematic idea. But what I mean is that the way she is judging herself and how she actually was, there is somewhat of a gap in there. Because if you remember, the second she learns about the consequences of her action, like, oh, if I just commit like school, a lot of lives will be ruined, and it will just destroy so much. She does complete 180. She tries to join the movement, she tries to convince other people not to do it, and she becomes an advocate of not doing it. That is a very clear character growth. But the way adult Zendaya always talks about it, you can feel that sense of judgment. So as I already said, like, I loved everyone's acting in this movie, especially Pattinson and Zendaya, but also this actress, just an actress, just an act. So she does really good job at making you hate her. And same with this guy, like the way he plays this passive doormat type character, where he knows that, hey, I'm a shitty person, my wife is a shitty person, but I don't want to deal with the conflict, so I'm just gonna shut up. Right? He does a very good job of selling it. I think all key four characters were solid. Also, I love the attention to detail in the writing. What I mean is that I came home and I saw the trailer and I realized a lot of things. Initially when Pattinson and Zendaya are preparing for the wedding and they're taking opinion from their friends, like, hey, should we do that and should we do that not and whatnot? Every part of that feedback is problematic and has some kind of negative connotation or judgment to it. The movie does very good job of small things, like not just that, but the DJ situation in itself, right? There is also just a movie but on a microscopic level. Basically, when they find out that the DJ is doing drugs and maybe we should fire her, Zendaya is the only one being kind. Like, all the other three people are being brutally judgmental towards the DJ, and they're even like assuming things and exaggerating something just for the sake of negativity. And Zendaya is the only one defends her. Like, she's the only one with kindness. And that is the whole movie. I also love how carefully that colleague is placed in the movie, the one Pattinson cheats with. She immediately establishes herself, this horrible person. And then it just keeps going downhill and downhill afterwards. And how she's used as comedic relief, but also somebody, we need so that Pattinson's character grows further, is great. I really liked that. And most importantly, the editing. Wow. At first couple of times, it felt a bit jarring. I was like, why is this movie edited like this? Like, this bit bunch of jump cuts once in a while, but then it made all sense. The way it captures the inner conflict of Zendaya or Pattinson, the turmoil, especially with those childhood scenes, where like how Zendaya sees herself and suddenly the actress herself is also the younger version of her, but the scene is current. Amazing. I lost it. Like, my entire cinema hall was in stitches when Pattinson started dating the younger version of Zendaya midway into the scene. Talk about something so hilarious but also so cringy that it is painful to watch. They nailed it. I think the actual wedding situation, whether it's the replacement DJ with his obsession with the gear, or that fake gunshot by mistake while Zendaya's father is doing a speech, or the speech itself where Zendaya is just freaking out like, oh my god, my dad is talking about this, that, and like, that entire scenario is hilarious. The way Zendaya learns about Pattinson cheated on her. And I thought like obsessive gossiping was only part of like marriages in my country, but I guess it's universal. But I love how, like, most of the people don't care about the marriage itself. They just want to know the juicy gossip about, like, oh, Zendaya did what? Oh, Pattinson cheated? What? It has that perfect balance of disgusting and funny. And then at the end, we have the glorious speech by Pattinson. That was tough to watch. That was seriously very difficult to sit through. But if you rewatch the trailer, you will notice that that speech of Pattinson is also influenced by these two jackasses. Some of the negative things he said, like, about Zendaya's laugh being obnoxious or things like that, this is the guy who puts that idea in his head. I'm not saying Pattinson is suddenly innocent, but you can see, how they're rubbing off of each other. I thought ending was good, but I do have one gripe with it. The entire movie is like pressure cooker for me. These horrible people are just being horrible, horrible, horrible. Zendaya, on the other hand, is being suppressed by them because she did have a very problematic thought as a teenager. But at the end, we just never get that like blast. That finally release all the rage moment where Zendaya just calls out everyone on their bullshit and hypocrisy and just goes off. Also, they kind of cut through the entire fist fight between Pattinson and that dude. So you never get that final at the end of the movie. So I can kind of see that some people might find ending of this movie a bit underwhelming. But still, that small little discussion at the end in the diner, really good. Really good. I actually love public reaction to this movie because it kind of proves the point movie is making. Everyone does something very disgusting and problematic. Zendaya, on the other hand, she doesn't even do it. However, it is true that the thoughts she had and intentions she had were genuinely messed up. That's why a lot of people are angry at this movie in a sense that they think that this movie is making fun of the issue. And some people are saying, like, my close relatives were involved, and how can you make fun of a situation like this? Now, I'm not American, so this issue is not that sensitive to me. But I can imagine, like people in America having a completely different reaction to it. However, I never felt that this movie made fun of any tragedy or this situation in particular. Sure, the past of Zendaya is funny, but it is her relationship with it. I thought it was a very creative way of showing that, that people can change if you provide them support. They can become a better person and they can leave their past behind. At the end, no matter how problematic a thought might be, there is always a separation between having a thought and actually doing it. This is also why I think this movie benefits from having a non-American director and also having a character in the movie who is not American. This allows you to explore the issue from perspective of an outsider. I really like that moment in the movie where Pattinson talks about, just having the thought of it. He basically, as an outsider thinks that, hey, this problem is quite prevalent in the country. And because of that, it's very easy to have an idea like that. It is still a very problematic idea, but it's not hard to imagine. Like if you consistently see, but most people will never share that they had idea like this for obvious reasons. Also, as if the controversy was not enough, the director has some essay resurface. So in 2012, he wrote some essay about dating a 17-year-old while he was 27. And this dude, oh my god, this dude tries to justify it by saying that Woody Allen did it in Manhattan, so why shouldn't I? That's fiction! From the little parts that I read, he does a bit of mental gymnastics to justify his behavior. It's very problematic, to say the least. Yeah, so fair bit of problematic stuff around this movie. For me, it was one of the best movies I have seen in 2026 so far. It was bold, it was funny, it was very thought-provoking, challenging. I thought it was great and I highly recommend it. So a few days ago, I uploaded the video about Project Hail Mary, right? But YouTube algorithm just didn't like it, I guess. Because first of all, the comments disappeared for some reason. There were like 10, 15 comments, and second day, like all of them were gone. I had to fight with customer support just to get the comments back. And then the algorithm just refused to show this video to anyone. Even though the people who watched it really enjoyed it and like they left really nice comments, the algorithm simply just didn't show it to anyone. So if you're interested in that movie, check out that video. I put in a lot of effort in that. I think you might enjoy it. Nothing crazy, but have you ever wondered, like what if you wear a piece of sock for 2 days? You go camping or something like a trekking and it's covered in sweat and whatnot. And when you take that sock out 2 days later, how will that sock smell? Now, what if you take that smell and then you combined it with the smell of fresh popcorn? Now, you might have to imagine what that smells like. I don't, because that is exactly how my cinema smelled during this movie. Was it some ventilation issues or God knows what, but oh my god. I'm just happy that this movie was very captivating, and after a while, I just forgot about the smell, but why? How? So thank you for watching. It means a lot to me. I will see you next time. Until then, Goodbye, take care, and have some fun with fiction.